Have you ever been to a family reunion when someone was talking about someone you knew who had died and long gone, and they were telling stories about it? You thought, hell, that ain't right. That's not how they were at all. Well, that could be a reason for you to write your book or your memoir. Let's say down the road, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, when they're talking about you at some family reunion or down to a local bar or someplace, wouldn't you like to be the one that dictates what was said? You can lay the story out there. There's a good reason to write. Hi, I'm Mad Jack. We're talking about creating in the second half of life here on our channel. And that's something that came up to me. This happened many, many years ago when my grandfather was alive. Some people would talk about his father at these big reunions and tell these stories. And after they'd all leave, my grandpa would say, that was a bunch of shit. They have no idea about how this guy thought about this and what he did with that. And I thought, well, I always wonder why he didn't correct him. Well, he never wrote it down, and all the great stories he had are lost, and that's an unfortunate thing. So that's one of the things maybe you should think about when you say, why would I want to write a book? Well, the main reason you need to write a book is because you can't turn down the opportunity. You can't not do it. You need to do it. You felt it for a long time. And I think that's probably the main reason. I want to talk about this today. I know last time I talked about writing your seed scene, and we're going to talk about that more, and we're going to. But today I want to talk about this because it came up again. Someone approached me about writing their story and why they would like to write their story. And this person's told me this now for over the last 2 decades, countless times. And I shouldn't make fun of them because I did the same thing myself. I'm not actually making fun of them. But I said, did you ever sit down and try and do it? And he said, no, all I ever sit down and do is I sit down and look at a blank piece of paper and with my pen in my hand. Well, put some words on it, it won't be blank. Just put some words on it. That's all you got to do. Write down something. If he said, well, may I've had writer's block. You have writer's block? I said, sure. I said, do you know what writer's block is? You go, sure. It's you sit down and you're a writer and you can't think of what to write about, and you sit there. He said, what else do you know about it? Well, I suppose a lot of people suffer from it. And I don't. I said, well, what else do you know about it? He says, I talked to somebody else who had writer's block, and they said they couldn't break writer's block unless they went outside and went for a walk around town somewhere. I said, okay. Write all that down. And why would I write that down? Because now you've started. Now you're writing. You're writing something. And that's the real start to this whole thing. Last I talked about writing a seed scene, and that's kind of launching and getting going. And if you've got that far, you wrote your seed scene, that's awesome. But most people will stagger around and not get that done for a while. Remember, the key points to we're covering here is to find that place and find that time and find that pen and find that paper and sit down and do it. Like I said, you can use the keyboard. I use pen and paper. That's always bring that up. When you're writing, and once you do start writing, and it's important to know, you're going to write and learn from your writing. And when I say that, really what I mean is this. This is what I got from writing. And again, like I always tell you, I can only tell you what my experience was. I can't tell you about all the other great authors of the world, and I'm not putting myself in the great author bracket. Can't even tell you about the other poor authors of the world. And hopefully I'm not putting myself in that bracket either. But what I am telling you is what I learned from it is I learned about me when I started writing. And my first book, if you remember, was not about me. It was about someone else, and it was about the polygraph and about some government corruption and things like that. It was a nonfiction story. I had met the person, so a little bit about me is in the back of the book. But the important thing is I was writing about someone else and basically a crusade they had against government corruption. But what I learned during that was I had to find my place to do it. I found a certain place to write, and that place somehow would maybe not be available. I had a backup place. I've talked about my favorite places. One was a library. Library is a great place. But anyway, you find that place. Might be right at your kitchen table. Sit down there and get started. That was the first thing I learned. The second thing I learned was, again, and I've harped on this, is the time. You got to set the time. You've got to put the time in. You've got to sit down. I've decided today I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write 6 pages. I'm going to write 4 pages, or I'm going to write 1,000 words. And 1,000 words, they say it's about 250 words a page. So that's about 4 pages. Or I'm just going to write for 15 minutes and whatever I got from that, I've got. So you set it down like that and do that. Make that a habit. It's just one of those things that becomes a complete habit. It's like going to the gym. But it's also as easy to break that habit as it is going to the gym. Now, I'm an old gym rat. I'm 66 years old. I've been a gym rat my entire life. And so I have that habit of going to the gym. Perfect attendance, never missed. I just made that part up because the reality is, as long as that habit's been with me, there are times I break it. And then you got to get back into it again. And getting back into it's harder. Every time is a little bit more difficult. So what I used to drive myself is the fear syndrome a little bit, and not the fear that a lot of people have when it's writing. They have the fear of failure. I don't have the fear of failure. If I do it and it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I've accomplished what I set out to do. I have the fear of regret. The fear of regret is big in a human's life. You may have the fear of regret because if you don't do this, there'll come a time in your life when you won't be able to do it. And we here together in the second half of life, we have that possibility looming on the horizon. Let's hope that horizon is a way long ways away out there, but it creeps closer all the time. Don't be one of the people who live that fear of regret and ultimately live in the fear of regret at the very end of our time here. So, it's maudlin enough to be for a while. Let's talk about the positive side a little bit. You're going to feel a sense of accomplishment from this. And I don't care what you write. You want to write a poem? Write a poem. If you want to write a short story, write it. But get it done. Go out there and do that, and you will feel something positive in that entire experience. You will. As we talked about the seed scene last time, we brought that up. We're going to bring up again this next week. I wanted to leave this week with you to tell you it's really in time to start. I do these Tuesdays and Fridays. This is a Friday afternoon. I get done with this. I wrote during my time this morning. I happened to write early, 4 o'clock this morning. That's the time I write. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. I'm telling you that because there is no time that's wrong. At 4 a.m., I get up about 3:15, have coffee, let my dog out to do her job, feed the cat. I have 2 of them. And go in the office. I have kind of a dim light I use. Bad for your eyes. That's why I got the specs. And I write. I'm telling you that so you can do the same thing. Maybe not at 4 a.m. Maybe at midnight. Maybe at high noon. But just go ahead and do it. Okay? I want you to do that going into the weekend. Be positive. Get something on paper. We'll be talking about the seed scene and how to build characters going forward. We got a lot to talk about. There's a lot in this. A lot that I've learned and a lot that I'm going to learn and a lot that hopefully you're going to learn. We can do all this together. Okay? Remember, write messy, edit clean. See you soon.